Hi everyone and welcome to the Woodland Reboot. I am Peter here at the Woodland Reboot. Join me today as I turn this pile of boards into a viable, affordable workbench that you too can build on your own. Let's get busy. Remember to like, share, and hit that notification button as well. Oh, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe. Anyways, what I want to do is build a large work surface, a workstation, essentially a workbench on casters that I can have in the shop. And so what I'm thinking is that I can repurpose one of these, or start to use one of these skids on which, or the steel arrived on, and as a starting point for the surface. I have these other skids lying around that also were used to ship and deliver the steel. So I think I've got enough wood and some stacks back there in the corner that I should be able to build this workbench. So I'm going to take this pallet apart, take these 2x3s and add them to this structure, to this frame here. And I'll be a long way to having a frame for the surface of the workbench. Once I get those attached to here, I'll move on to building the legs to the workbench. So I'm going to make the legs out of this, it's either spruce or pine 4x4. I've got support rails that run 3/4 the length of the table. I'm going to have overhangs on each end, which I'm going to put 45-degree angle supports into. And right now I'm just going to use some longer nails to tack this rail into place, and the same on the other side, before I cut and attach the legs. Screws are definitely needed. Every time I move and drop this thing, it'll separate a little bit. So again, this is just, the nails are just to tack it together so I have something to work off of. I want the top of my workbench surface to be about 36 inches off the ground. So when I take the length of my caster wheels into account, that I've already got the dimensions for, the 1/2 inch for the plywood top that I'm going to add, along with the depth here, which is 2 3/8 inches, I add all that, subtract it from 36, and end up with 28 3/4, which is what the length of each leg needs to be. Time to get some screws into these joints so it locks it in better. All right, we're getting there, Blue. And now I want to put some angles out here to create some rigidity with the overhang. So with these braces that are in place on each side of these posts and then internally here, these are locked in great. I've got screws in them. I need to flip it over now and attach the other parts of these braces. Screws to many other parts of the table. And right now I'm going to try to build a workable top to this workbench that I'm developing here, working on here. And I've got a lot of wood, so I'm just going to take some boards, a thickness planer, 12-inch wide thickness planer I think it is, an old Delta, and I've got an edger. And I'm going to cut up some boards 42, 43 inches long, so it'll have a 2-inch overhang on each side. And that'll become the work surface. This thickness planer is very heavy. Before I get to the thickness planer, I actually need to make a stop over at the chop saw station. I need to select a number of boards from the various piles behind the saw and get them measured up and actually cut them into the boards that I'm going to be running through the thickness planer and using for the work surface of the workbench. So let's get busy here with the chop saw. That's 24 pieces through the thickness planer, and I like to keep it tidy as I go, so time to pull out the broom and sweep this mess up a little bit. Okay, so the next step in this exercise to create a workbench for the shop here is to edge all of these boards. Remember, I've got about 24 boards that'll make up the surface for now. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. This will not be the finished surface, but just the surface for now until I get the opportunity to get to a big box store and purchase some 4x8 material. Okay, so what I've done is I went and I bought these caster wheels. They attach on the legs, obviously. They lock. I believe they're nearly 3 inches across. They're heavy duty. Each wheel can support 300 pounds. The idea obviously is to make the workbench mobile and should make it quite easy to use the space more effectively with the mobile workbench. So let's get these installed. So each caster is going to be secured with quite a hodgepodge of screws. It's a mishmash of things that I have left over here from just different other parts of the build, the pole barn build process. So it's going to get a lag bolt, it's going to get a large construction screw, and then 2 smaller construction screws. And hopefully this mishmash works. I have no reason to doubt that it wouldn't. It's just, it saves me from having to go buy another batch of screws. That is not going anywhere. So that's sliding, it's not rolling, so that's great. Okay, I'm getting this first board in place here. And what I've done is I've measured it 3/4 of an inch from each of the end boards here. It's 1.5 inch overhang on each side. Now it's ready to be socked in to make sure I've got it where I want it and keep it where I want it. So the edge is a little seesawed right now, or saw edge. And what I'll do with that is I'll just mark a line and hit it with the skill saw, straighten it up. Hey everyone, I'm in the final stretches of working on this workbench. And what I want to do today is put in some supports that will create a shelf down here. And the first step in this process is that I need to beef up these rails. These rails are 1x6s, so what I'll do is I'll add another layer of 1x6s to them, essentially creating a 2x6. And I'll show you in a second that I added a vise on the deck already. So it's coming along. This is going to be a great workbench. And there's the vise that I added to the workbench surface. Alright, let's fire up this puppy. The bench is complete and I'm already putting it to very good use. It's sturdy, it's mobile, it's exceptionally practical. It's exactly what I need in this shop. Here's my mobile workbench about 6 months after I originally built it. You can see got a lot of equipment and gear stored on that shelf down below. That's a great thing to add to any workbench that you're going to build. Great big work surface, 41 inches wide, 10 feet 2 inches long. Again, fantastic for just laying something out on top and working on it. What do I have on there right now? I've got a schematic for repairs to the hydraulic section of my 9N tractor, and I've got a schematic for my solar electricity kit that I installed recently. And as you can see, my workbench is completely mobile. It's fantastic, and if you have a large space like the one that I have, the flexibility of a mobile workbench I think is a must. The ability to move the workbench around creates such flexibility. I fully recommend putting heavy-duty casters on any construction like this. It just creates that great flexibility. Thanks for watching, everyone. Glad you made it to the end of the video. Please subscribe, like, and share, and look forward to seeing you next time.